You're a Ukrainian soldier chilling on a couch. Maybe you're sipping on a soda or eating a handful of chips. It's a nice moment of relaxation, but then you remember you have a job to do. So you pick up your controls and send an interceptor drone flying. Another of Russia's Shahed-type drones goes down. From your couch, you've just taken down a Russian drone flying hundreds of kilometers away. And you didn't even have to be in Ukraine to do it. Ukrainian engineers have found a genius way to strike Russia from almost anywhere, and Putin can only watch as his drone swarms feel the pain. This is all according to Ukraine's Defense Minister Mikhailo Fedorov, who says that Ukraine has developed and deployed a new capability that makes its interceptor drones more capable than they ever were before. Now, the drone operators don't even have to be on the front line to fly their interceptor drones. They can be almost anywhere, hundreds or even thousands of kilometers away. In Kyiv, an interceptor operator can be flying a drone that takes out a Russian Shahed in Donetsk. In Lviv, which is about as far west as a major city gets in Ukraine, that operator can be lounging on a couch as they use their interceptors to shatter Shaheds in Sumy, Zaporizhia, or almost anywhere else in Ukraine. Fedorov even says that Ukraine's interceptor drones can be operated from abroad, which opens up brand new avenues for people who aren't in Ukraine itself to join the fight against Russia. Russia thought that it had Ukraine's drone operators figured out, and then something changed. That something has been revealed in insane tests that show just how well Ukraine's interceptor drones operate even when piloted by people who are hundreds of kilometers away. That test saw an operator use a system called the Hornet Vision Control, which was developed by a company called Wild Hornets, and looks set to revolutionize the battlefield. Based in northern Ukraine, the drone operator controls interceptors that were used to down Shahed drones about 500 kilometers away. There's even footage to prove Ukraine's new capabilities. In a setup that looks no different from one that a gamer would use to play Call of Duty or PUBG, the drone operator sits in front of a computer. On the screen is a crystal clear live feed from a Sting interceptor drone that is flying around 2,000 kilometers away. Controller in hand, the operator makes little tweaks that are instantly reflected in the movements of the interceptor on screen. This is remote-controlled warfare. And it means that even the average gamer can now play a huge role in Ukraine's defense of its skies against Russian drones. This new technology was a year in the making, as Fedorov revealed in an April 23rd Telegram post where he unveiled the new innovation that Ukraine has cooked up to tackle Russia's Shahed threat. A year ago, through Brave One, we initiated the development and testing of remote-controlled technology for interceptor drones. Today we have a confirmed result, shooting down targets at distances of hundreds and thousands of kilometers, Fedorov declared. So Brave One is doing precisely what it was created to do. Launched by Ukraine in 2023, Brave One is a government-backed hub and defense center that enables Ukraine to support and invest in drone manufacturers and startups all over the country. The idea is that innovators can register on the platform and Ukraine can invest in the technologies that are most likely to help it in its war against Russia. Remote controlling interceptor drones from hundreds of kilometers away seems like a pretty good use for Ukraine's money. And who knows, this may end up being a tech that can be implanted into Ukrainian FPV drones in the future. That would completely change the face of the Ukraine war, and we'll explain why very soon. For now, Fedorov prefers to focus on what this new tech means for the future of Ukrainian air defenses. Ukraine is the first in the world to systematically scale remote control of interceptor drones. This is an example of the implementation of defense innovations and the formation of a new standard of air defense, Fedorov states. And it looks like Ukraine's interceptor drone manufacturers have already been quick on the uptake for this brand new tech. More than 10 have already started integrating the remote-controlled compatibility into their interceptor systems. Just how Ukraine is doing all of this is a very closely guarded secret. And that's how it should be. Ukraine doesn't want to give Russia any clues that could lead to Putin's patsies coming up with a similar system that they could use to topple Ukraine's own long-range strikes. After all, Ukraine is starting to pull ahead of Russia on that front. March marked the first month since Putin's invasion began that Ukraine fired more drones into Russian territory than Russia managed to fire into Ukraine. Maintaining that advantage is going to be huge to the Ukrainian war effort, especially as Ukraine works on making its long-range drones more lethal and accurate. So Ukraine has some pretty impressive new tech in its hands. Here's what drones that can be controlled from hundreds or even thousands of kilometers away mean for the future of the war. We'll start with the pilots that Fedorov mentions in his statement. In the past, those pilots have been severely limited by their need to stay within the range of the drones that they were using. For interceptor drone operators, that would usually mean staying within the cities that Russia is targeting with its Shaheds. On the front, it means that FPV drone operators can't pull too far back, otherwise their drones drop to the floor and can't patrol the kill zones that Ukraine used to eliminate a record 35,351 Russian soldiers in March 2026, which came on the back of 2 other months that led to Russia's first quarter casualty rate blowing past 90,000 soldiers. This need for proximity is a problem, and it's one that Russia has been trying to exploit. Back in October, Business Insider reported that Russia had put out the order, hunt down the pilots who are behind Ukraine's drone-based defense. Ukraine's drone pilots are the top threat, the most high-value targets for Putin's own drone operators to target. Missiles and bombs have also been Russia's weapon of choice as it tries to take out the drone operations centers that Ukraine has created on its own territory. Obviously, this is a problem on the front. Russia knows that Ukraine's FPV drone operators can't be too far behind the lines because it has drone operators of its own. But even in Ukrainian cities where pilots fly interceptors, Russia knows that just one lucky strike with a missile could take out an entire base of operators, massively weakening a city's defenses in the process. At least, all of this used to be the case. Now that Ukraine has its new remote control technology that allows operators to fly their drones from a massive distance, the entire game has changed. Pilots don't need to be gathered in drone operation rooms anymore. They can decentralize, placing themselves wherever they want. The risk of damage to operators is now minimized. Even if Russia gets lucky with a drone or a missile, it only takes out a single operator. There will be dozens more, all in unobvious locations, contributing to Ukraine's defense using little more than a laptop and a control pad. If war is a game of resources, Ukraine has just found a new way to keep its costs, human and otherwise, low while it inflicts as much damage on Russia as possible. But let's backtrack for a second. We've mentioned FPV drone operators a few times. But right now, Ukraine's remote-controlled tech is being used in interceptor drones. That likely won't be the case for long, though. Fedorov has noted that Ukraine's new system is scalable and can be distributed all over. The 10 or so companies that have adopted it may all be interceptor manufacturers right now. Makes sense. Dealing with Russia's aerial threat is a priority for Ukraine. But it likely won't be long before Ukraine's FPV drone manufacturers start integrating this new technology into the drones that Ukraine uses in the kill zones it's developed on the front. These sorts of innovations are what have defined Ukraine's defense against Russian aggression for over 4 years, and Ukraine is just getting started. There's a lot more where this comes from. New methods are being developed to enable Ukraine to deploy its interceptor drones. Don't go anywhere because we'll be revealing what they are soon. Before we do, this is a quick reminder that you're watching The Military Show. If this is the kind of insight that you want to see, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. We break it down like this every single week. Let's zoom back in on Ukraine's interceptor drones for a moment. There's a reason why Ukraine is so focused on improving this part of its drone army before any other. Interceptor drones are proving themselves to be immensely effective, and the numbers back it up. One of the first of this new generation of drones that Ukraine introduced is the P-1 Sun. Created by Skyfall, that drone was unveiled at the 2025 Dubai Air Show, and it gives us a good idea of what makes interceptors so valuable. Built around a 3D printed airframe, which goes a long way to keeping the costs down to the point where it's even cheaper to build than the low-cost Shahed-type drones that Russia launches at Ukraine, the P-1 Sun was being made in the thousands every month by the time it was revealed. Fast forward to today, and that interceptor drone is showcasing why it's so valuable to Ukraine. In an April 23rd report, Pravda revealed that the P-1 Sun alone has been responsible for intercepting more than 3,000 of Russia's Shahed-type drones since the beginning of 2026. An advisor to Ukraine's Minister of Defense, Hanna Hvozdyar, highlighted the cost advantages, stating, Ukrainian manufacturers created interceptor drones with an average cost of up to $3,000, allowing the defense forces to intercept up to 90% of Russian Shahed-type drones. Keep that percentage in mind, we'll be coming back to it. Hvozdyar also revealed that 4 of the 5 most effective interceptor drones that Ukraine is using, and she name-drops the P-1 Sun along with the previously mentioned Sting, the Merops and the Bliskavka, were created by private Ukrainian companies. Only one of the 5 is being made as part of Ukraine's joint development work with the UK, and all 5 are devastating Russia's attempts to use its drones to gain an advantage over Ukraine. Taking a wider view of the effectiveness of Ukraine's interceptor drones, Pravda also reported on comments Fedorov made about the impact they've had on the war. March alone saw Ukraine's interceptor drones destroy a record 33,000 Russian drones, Fedorov claimed. That number might seem strange to you at first. We've talked a lot about interceptors being used against Russian Shahed drones, which are the long-range strike drones that Russia fires at Ukraine. Indeed, ABC notes that Ukraine's Air Force says that Russia launched 6,462 long-range drones at Ukraine in March. 33,000 doesn't fit into 6,462, so what gives? It's not just Shahed drones that Ukraine's interceptors are taking out. Fedorov mentioned Zala, Gebera, Molnaya and Orlan drones, along with unspecified others, which tells us that Ukraine's interceptors can target more than Russia's Shahed drones. Loitering drones are also on the menu. so are the reconnaissance drones and perhaps even the FPV and fiber optic drones that Russia has been trying to use against Ukraine. If it's a drone that has its own warhead, it becomes a target for an interceptor. And when you throw the new capability of Ukraine's operators to pilot their interceptors from hundreds of kilometers away, Russia faces a new problem that it can't solve. Its drones are getting destroyed and it can't do anything to stop it from happening. Now, we told you a moment ago that more interceptor innovations are coming through the pipeline. Ukraine has pilots who can fly interceptors from a massive distance. Next up, developing technologies that get interceptor drones as close to their targets as possible before they're launched. On April 21st, Breaking Defense reported on Ukraine pulling off yet another world first. This time, Ukraine launched some of its interceptor drones from an unmanned surface vehicle, with those drones going on to destroy a Russian Shahed. What we see here is a level of air and sea integration that has caught Russia cold. Ukraine's defense ministry has even released footage of the incident, noting that the 412th Nemesis Brigade pulled off the feat. Think about what this means for Ukrainian air defense. Many of Russia's long-range drones are not launched from within Russia itself, but from the illegally occupied territory that Russia holds in Crimea and eastern Ukraine. With this innovation, Ukraine has developed the ability to send marine drones into the Black Sea, which can launch interceptors fired from the occupied territory to take out Russian Shahed drones long before they even come close to reaching Ukraine's cities and infrastructure deeper into the mainland. If Ukraine is able to expand this strategy, Crimea could become practically useless as a drone launching point. Every Shahed that Russia tries to send from the peninsula could be taken out by interceptors fired from unmanned sea platforms and controlled by operators deep inside Ukraine. This is deep air defense, and it's something that interceptor drones aren't supposed to be able to do. Then again, there are a lot of things that Ukraine isn't supposed to do that it's done anyway. Clearing out the Black Sea Fleet, which makes the use of its marine drones in this manner possible, is one of them. Russia has been forced to withdraw its once-dreaded fleet from Crimea because Ukraine's drones and missiles have destroyed a third of it. With this latest innovation, Ukraine can take advantage of that withdrawal, and if the marine drones carrying interceptors happen upon a target that's worth taking out, they can do it knowing that the interceptor drones lost in the attack only cost a couple of $1,000s each. Frankly, it's brilliant from Ukraine. And this isn't the only novel method Ukraine is using to unleash its interceptors onto Russia's long-range drones. Just a day after the news broke of the marine vessel innovation, Maritime revealed that Ukraine has also started launching interceptor drones that are attached to mothership drones in the sky. Specifically, Ukraine has been using its Thor-A drone as an airborne carrier for interceptors. With a flight endurance of up to 90 minutes for the electric version and 240 minutes for the variant that uses a combustion engine, Thor-A has a range of up to 400 kilometers. It's a perfect loitering drone, and Ukraine has been using it for reconnaissance in the past. But it also has a pair of underwing hardpoints, almost like a mini fighter jet. Ukraine can pack a couple of interceptors onto those hardpoints and fire them like missiles at incoming Shaheds to take them out. Again, it's brilliant. Innovative barely seems like an appropriate word for this development. What Ukraine has here is one drone that can spend hours in the air on the hunt for incoming Shaheds. Combine that with the remote technology being packed into Ukraine's interceptor drones, and you get a secondary weapon that can be launched at will and fly perfectly toward a target that might even be a greater distance away than the Thor-A's outer range limit. Imagine a pair of operators, each with their laptops and controllers, combining forces to use these drones. It's an insane level of ingenuity from Ukraine. It also shows us one thing: Russia can never adapt quickly enough to Ukraine's innovations. A few months ago, it was interceptor drones. Today, it's interceptors being launched from other drones and controlled by operators who could be on a couch in Kyiv for all that Russia knows. Everything that we are now seeing from Ukraine is in service of boosting its air defenses. Even though Ukraine is now coming out ahead of Russia on the long-range drone front, Russia is still sending thousands of its Shaheds and other drones into Ukraine every month. Ukraine knows that's a huge problem. Shahed swarms confuse air defenses, which allows Russia's far more dangerous ballistic and cruise missiles to break through. To counter this threat, Fedorov says that he wants Ukraine to get to the point where it's intercepting at least 95% of Russia's projectiles. It's an ambitious target for sure, but it's also starting to look very achievable. Ukraine building on the interceptor foundation that it has created with all of the innovations we've covered here will help. A technology that started as a short-range solution is being given enough range that it can deal with Shahed swarms long before they reach the air defenses that those swarms are supposed to overwhelm. Ukraine is also starting to edge closer to its 95% target already. On April 3rd, Russia launched an attack that included 579 projectiles, the Center for European Policy Analysis reports. Ukraine managed to take out 541 of those projectiles, giving an interception rate of almost 94%. A percent or so more, and the target would have been reached. Granted, these numbers were recorded for one Russian strike, but if we look at March, Ukraine is edging closer to 95%. Also on April 3rd, Ukraine's Ministry of Defense revealed that Ukraine's air defenses managed to take out 90.25% of Russia's drones and 74% of its missiles, for a combined total interception rate of 89.9%. Ukraine is already on the right path. Operators being able to control interceptor drones from their couches, potentially in other countries, just means that they can operate safely while contributing more to Ukraine's interception targets. What we're seeing here is the beginning of something big. A new version of air defense that meets the multi-layer requirement that Fedorov laid out, and does it using drone-based technologies that are far cheaper and smarter than the Shahed-type drones that Russia is using. Ukraine would have killed to have this technology earlier in the war, but it has it now. Another series of innovations born from the need to stop Putin in his tracks is upon us, and it spells doom for one of Russia's most effective strategies. Today it's interceptor drones being controlled from couches. Tomorrow it could be FPV and reconnaissance drones, all being flown in kill zones hundreds of miles away, and being as effective as they've always been while allowing Ukraine to protect more of its soldiers. If preservation of manpower is Ukraine's priority, then developing an aerial drone army like this is how it keeps its people safe. Not even we saw this coming. We can't help but wonder what other tricks Ukraine's masterminds have brewing away that we haven't heard about yet. Ukraine's robot army is real, and it's not just what it's doing in the skies that will have Putin tearing what's left of his hair out. On the ground, Ukraine's robots are pulling off more world firsts. They're taking names and liberating territory, and you can find out how by checking out our video. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure that you subscribe to The Military Show so you never miss out on the next insane invention to come from the minds of Ukraine's ingenious engineers. And thank you as always for watching.